Welcome everyone to Shopventory 101. My name is Jacques. I'm here with Mr. Joe Barlow, and today we're going to be going over Shopventory. So let me go over the agenda real quick. We'll do a quick company overview of who is Shopventory, and we'll do a demo of the app, so it'll be a full guided tour of our software here. We will, by the way, be having a Q&A session, so if you see that Q&A button, be sure to be asking questions. We will be taking questions here towards the end of today's session. So real quick, Shopventory was founded in 2012. We manage billions of dollars worth of inventory worldwide. We are based here in the US in lovely Denver, Colorado. Plans start at just $1.30 per day. We offer a full feature 30-day trial and a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're just trying out Shopventory, we do have quite a nice testing period for you here. Some of the key benefits is everything is all in one place. It is a central hub for all your inventory management and reporting needs. So we find the average user saves over an hour per day per location. Setup is very easy, by the way. We can import the information that you already have in your point of sale or e-commerce system, and you can just pick right up where you left off. We also have very detailed reporting, so things like total value of inventory at a glance for you accountants out there. Ingredient and component tracking, so things like cafes, bars, restaurants. If you guys combine ingredients and want to track those, we have tools for you here. Of course, tracking on what do we have too much of, what do we not have enough of, what's profitable, what's not profitable. We have one-stop purchase order and vendor management in Shopventory. Our barcode label printing as well as scanning. We have an app that allows you to scan using your phone. You can also use a dedicated barcode scanner in certain parts of the app. We have detailed stock takes for your physical inventory count, so especially if you're kind of trying to get this year off on the right foot, you want to start a cycle count regime, that's definitely going to help you out. Inventory forecasting on some of our higher up plans. We can guess with pretty reasonable accuracy about how long you have left until you run out of stock. And then daily syncing to QuickBooks Online is also a part of Shopventory here. So we'll be going over each of those. Par levels as well to reduce stock outs. So we hate running out of stock, so we have par levels to help you keep track of what's running low. Alerts for any critical shortages. So if you want to get notified that, hey, this thing is running low, we need to order now, we do have alerts for that. User accounts with access control, so each of my employees can have his or her own login. You can also restrict permissions as to what that employee can and cannot do and can and cannot see. So also live in-app support, so actual human beings who speak English, Spanish, and French available to help you right there in the app. So we have chat support for you there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Joe Barlow to give you a full demo of the software here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jacques, for the introduction. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to walk through the whole Shopventory app. We're going to touch all the main features. It is a very big app, so I'm going to move pretty quickly here. But if you miss something, use that Q&A button along the way, and we will be sure to field your questions before we hop offline today. So I'm going to start. This is the dashboard of the Shopventory app, and it basically just gives you a quick overview of where your business is at. You can see we're in demo mode here, so we've got some numbers populated. So you can see how this works. So when you log into Shopventory, this is what you'll see. We default to today. So at a glance, you can say, so far today, I've made close to $800 in sales. This is my profit based on my cost of goods. This is how many sales, the products that sold. We've got a couple of graphics here to show you how today is looking compared to last week in terms of the revenue and the transactions. And if you scroll down a bit, this is your profit margin for today's sales again, and then the categories which are selling well. So you can hover over those to see the category name and your sales so far today. And last but not least, we've got a low inventory products tile at the bottom. So just at a glance, I know that I have 6 products which need some attention. If I click on this, it's going to put me in my inventory page or the low inventory report, so I can see exactly what those are and then address whether or not I need to reorder those. Before we go too far on the app, you'll see there's a hamburger menu over here. So if you forget what your icons mean at any point, you can always expand this menu and read your navigational bar, and this is going to help us get through the app today. So again, we just started with a dashboard. If I want to see more than today, I can look back at yesterday, this week, this month, and this page is also filterable by location. So if I have multiple stores, then I could see my dashboard for each of those or all together. Moving on, we're going to take a look at our alerts page. This is an email alert for low inventory specifically. So I can set up multiple criteria to define what is low inventory and when do I want to know about it for which products. And this is going to send me an email. So if you have push notifications on your phone, when a product that meets these conditions, when a product meets these conditions, we're going to send you an email and say, hey, this is your alert. This is your product. You might want to consider reordering, and you're going to know about that right away. So if we click into diet sodas, this is our sample alert here. You can see I'm looking for a quantity less than or equal to 25, any product in the category soda. And specifically, I want the product name to contain the word diet, and that's going to trigger that alert. I've got a few other options here for customization. So if I want to look at the specific variant, so for example, cherry instead of just all diet sodas, or I can look at one location versus another if the stock needs are different between them. I can drill down even to the specific SKU or barcode if I want to alert for one specific product that I really need to get a read on. This top one here, estimated days of stock remaining, Jacques mentioned that as a key feature of the app. If I want to know when an item is going to run out of stock, I can have an alert set based on that forecast instead of just the quantity itself. So if the item suddenly picks up in sales and I'm running out sooner than I usually am, this is going to pick that up. And we're going to look at that a little bit more closely later on in the demo. Moving from alerts, we're going to jump right down to our reports here, and that's the bar graph icon. So you can see we've got quite a few out-of-the-box reports, and these are expandable and customizable. We can see a little bit more about that at the bottom here. So we're going to start with our sales reports. We've got a couple options. We have the regular sales report, category sales, the discount report overview, and then the vendor sales. And these are all going to look at your sales data as they're coming in from your merchant account, be it Square, Clover, Shopify. We're going to aggregate and parse that data to give you the numbers that are most important. We're going to show you what you need to know. So all of these reports have some filtering available at the top. Again, I can sort by locations if I have more than one. I can pick my date, and this goes back as far back in time as you need it to. So we're going to bring in your entire sales history. If you've been with Clover for 10 years and you sign up with Shopventory today, we will eventually be able to pull in all of those receipts, and you can see your entire history of your account, including the profit, even if you didn't know it for years past. So, and then integrations. So it's possible that I have a brick and mortar integration for my point of sale, and I also have e-commerce at that same location. So if you want to see, just show me my online sales, then you can filter it from right there. Your sales report at a high level is going to be some of those key figures you'd expect to see. Net sales. So again, we're just starting for today right now in this sample report. 390 so far. Gross profit, and this is calculated based on the cost of goods, and we're going to take out refunds and taxes and discounts and do all the math for you. We're looking at 21 transactions for this many products. And here are some of the nitty gritty. So the tax collected, how much was refunded, if any discounts were given, what the total number that we actually brought in, shipping, refunds, tips, transaction fees. I'm going to break down your profit margin right here. Here are those bar graphs that we saw a little earlier. So today I can look at some of my hourly sales if I'm just looking at one day, and then today versus the same day last week. Here again is a category breakdown. If you hover it over, it's going to give you a little more detail there in terms of the popularity of the categories, how many products were sold, and the revenue by category. At the bottom, we have our products sold table. So this is going to list every product that was sold in the date range that you've picked. We're going to tell you how many total, and then the revenue that was brought in. Again, this is already counting for discounts. And then you can tell us what the cost of goods was, and we will calculate the profit for you. So very quickly, I can see which products are selling, what the numbers are, what my profit is. You can see my margin on each individual product here. And we're going to summarize all those values up at the top here. So again, I know I'm moving quickly. We've got a lot to cover here. So if you have questions that I'm not answering, just type them out using that Q&A button, and we will get to them before we end today. So the next few, these are, I guess you could see detail reports. Again, we're looking at one set of sales data, but there's more than one way to look at it depending on what you want to know. So Before we jump to the category sales report, I forgot to mention, we also have a filters button right here. So in your regular sales report, you can click on this, and then if I only want to see one or two specific categories, I can apply those filters, and it's going to pare down this table for me so I can see the change in numbers here. The category sales report is going to look at the same data, but it's going to show you your products sectioned out by category. So again, same numbers at the top here, but if I scroll down, now I've got a separate table for my snacks category, and I can see all of those particular items with their quantity sold and their revenue, down to the soda category. And this is going to go all the way down your list, no matter how many categories you have. We're just going to break it out for you. And all the way at the bottom, if you find that you have some items that are not categorized, then you can go back to the inventory page and fix that later, and it'll clean up your reporting. The discount report is pretty neat. This is going to look at any transactions, again, in the date range that you've selected, and then show you which discounts were applied on what products. So I can see back on May 5th, the order came through at 1 p.m. There was a discount of $2 applied to this product. So a lot of this is going to look familiar to you if you know what kind of sales are running and what your discounts are. If you see something pop up here that doesn't look normal and people are giving away 100% discounts, you're going to find out about that pretty quickly. And that's a really good way to keep tabs on your employee activities and make sure that they're not giving out discounts to their friends or family without you knowing about it. So here's a quick look into that discount report. Quick, handy one to have on hand there. Last but not least, we have our vendor sales report in the sales section. Just like the category sales report, this is going to break down all of your sales according to the vendor where you purchase your products. So if you want to glance into which of your providers are faring better than the others, and this is a really easy way to do it. And we're going to talk a little bit about vendors and how you can set those up in your system and assign them to your products a little bit later on down the road. So again, if you find out you have a listing where there's not a vendor set, then that's something that you can go back and fix and clean up your reports. So that's it for the sales report section. Our next main category is the inventory report section. Sales reports look at a range in time, so I can run this report for all of 2019 if I want. I can sift back through my months here and then run it for several months at a time. The inventory report is going to look at a specific moment in time. So as soon as you sign up with Shopventory, we're going to start tracking your inventory, what you have on hand for every given product. If that quantity changes, we're going to make an entry. You'll see when the quantity changed, to what and why, where the change come from, and it's all on chronological record. So since I've signed up with Shopventory quite a while ago, if I want to see what I had on hand at the end of last year, so it might sound familiar if you're doing taxes at all, December 31st, 11:59 p.m., what was the total value of my inventory on hand? Shopventory has that on file. If I need to go back maybe before I did my last cycle count to the end of November, I can do that. Same deal, I can flip back through the months here, pick a calendar date, pick the time of day, and Shopventory is going to show you exactly what we had on file for you at that time. The inventory report likewise has this table here beyond our summary values, and it's going to show you every product with the variance, where it's located, your retail price, so that's what you're going to sell it for, how many we had in stock at that time, your cost per unit, so that's what you paid for it according to what you told us. And we're going to sum up that cost and your on-hand quantity to show you the value of that unit on hand. Revenue is, of course, if I sold all of these products today, how much money would I bring in? And then what is the potential profit, based on all of those numbers? So at a glance, I can see that today I have $181 worth of inventory. If I sold all of it, it would bring in this much money, and here's my potential profit. This is also searchable, filterable. So if I want to see just my oatmeal cookies, of course, I can type that into the search bar to see what I have in stock. Or if I want to filter by a specific category, I can see what my value of my snacks is on hand. And if that's higher or lower than I expect, then I can do a quick count and then maybe make sure that all my numbers are reconciled. The inventory change report is a neat one. This is going to look at a range in time and tell me what are all the products that experienced a change in quantity during that time. So this is just looking at the last 24 hours by default, but again, you can change this. So if I want to look at a week or a particular event, a couple of weekends ago, I can see how much inventory moved and why. This is going to show you what the change in value was based on all the inventory events that took place. So here's our quick table. We've got the coffee beans product located at Main Street. At the beginning of this time range, I had 20 in stock and I sold 2 of them, which is a net change of -2. My ending quantity is 18. And then we're going to do the math there and then tell you what the change in value was as well. If you see this little hamburger menu on your tables, that means that those columns are customizable. So I can add or take away columns according to what I want to see on that report. By the way, all of these reports are exportable. If you missed it in the sales reports, you'll see a couple links in the top right corner here. I can just click this button and that's going to download a PDF to my device, and or this one will download a CSV, that's a spreadsheet file. And you can have those as backups or storage or whatever you need to do with them for sharing with other people in your company. Always good to back up your files and know that any report that you pull in Shopventory will be able to be exported for you. Our next one on the list here is the dead inventory report. This is going to look for any inventory, so we're calling it dead. What it means is it's not moving. So the main criterion right here, 30 days since the last sale. So this report is showing me everything I have on hand that's been sitting on my shelf for a month that hasn't moved. Now I can see that I've got some cookies in here, which is probably not good. If those are stale, I need to know. I pull up my dead inventory report and I'm going to get them off the shelf or put them on sale, whatever I need to do. And this number is customizable as well. So if I want to see what's been in stock for 6 months, or just punch in any number I want, I can look at the last couple weeks, 14 days, and that's going to rerun that report for me and highlight the items that probably need to be addressed. Our low inventory report is going to show you all the products that are low according to the criteria that you put in. So there's 2 ways for an item to be considered low quantity. One is if it triggers an alert, like that diet soda example we looked at earlier. And the other way is if it hits your par level. So par level and reorder quantity are essentially min and max thresholds for inventory levels. In this case, I put in that my Diet Coke, my 3-liter bottle, the minimum I want to have in stock is 30. If I get below that, it's probably time to reorder. So since I put that number in, my current quantity in stock is 24, which is below my minimum threshold. So now this product is listed on my low inventory report. The reorder quantity is basically what you want to get your quantities back up to. So it's not listed for this product, so I'm going to just do it by hand when I decide how much I want to order. But suppose I put in 40 for my reorder quantity, then when we get over to the purchase orders, Shopventory is going to do that math for you to get your reordering. So I order enough of this product to get back up to my desired quantity. The current cost per unit, again, is just what I paid for that item, the total value. So a few more numbers here that you can read for your low inventory in stock, and then you can address those items as you need to. Lastly, we have our stock forecast report. What this report does is it's looking at your sales velocity for all of your products, and then doing a prediction as to when you will run out of stock of that particular item. So this is sorted from lowest to highest, so I can see, based on our calculations, the Alpine cookie chocolate chip has only 1 day left of stock on hand before I run out. Down here, this Coca-Cola 3 liters got a week and 2 days. And if you click View Report, it's going to drill into that specific product and show you more of the details. So for this particular item, what we're seeing here is a bit of a graph here. So sales by week and then quantity by week. And this is just looking back in time at how much inventory you're moving. Couple highlights: quantity sold in the past 30 days, 90 days, 365 days. So those are some quick data points on how much we're selling as time goes by. Looking at the last month, we're going to give you an estimate on what that velocity is telling you. So in this case, based on the quantity that we have on hand and what's moving out the door, at the current rate, we're estimating that you've got about almost 2 weeks left before this item runs out of stock. So if that's something that you want to restock or just something to be aware of, again, this value right here can be filtered back into our alerts. So if you'll remember on this diet sodas alert, suppose I created a new alert for my clothing and I want to restock, make sure that I don't run out of stock of a particular item. All I have to do is set my condition type to estimated days of stock remaining, less than or equal to, and then I can say 7 days. So if I've got an item that's Shopventory thinks I'm going to run out of in the next week. This is going to send me an email, and I can restock accordingly. One more in our out of the box reports here in the PO and transfers. This is going to tell me everything that is in transit. So if I have an open order from a couple of my vendors and I have some items that I've put on a truck and I'm moving from one location to another, this is going to give me a glance at what is just in motion right now. So either incoming inventory or moving between locations. In this example, my t-shirt, I've wanted to transfer from my north-south location. I think it's going to sell better there, or my south is running low and my north location has too much. I can see that I've got 7 on the way here that have not been received. And the value of that inventory, based on the cost and then the quantity, will be summed up for you here. So we're going to look at both the transfers and the purchase orders shortly, and you can see how all of those run. But if you want to glance at what's currently in transit, this is your place to go. Before we leave the reports, I've got just a little bit more for you. So I'm going to exit demo mode. And we have a custom report feature, which will let you build your own. So depending on your subscription with Shopventory, you can create multiple custom reports. Sorry, I'm just going to refresh my page here so I can load those. There we go. I thought I had some built in. All right, so here's a custom report I've developed for purchase orders specifically. This is going to show me just a quick glance at my purchase orders for a range in time. Again, I'm setting the range up here, and then my reports are going to filter through based on the range I've selected. So in the last couple of weeks or the last month or so, I've put in one purchase order. This is the number that's going to link right to that order for me. And this is the total value of it. This is a high level view. If we go down to products received, this is going to list out every variant that's come in on purchase orders. So I've received in the last month. No transfers in the last month, but it would look just like this. So we've got the location it's coming in at, where it was sent from, transfer number, fees and freight, and you can look at all the value there. And a couple more at a glance numbers here. A couple more examples here, sales by location. So here you can see that I have color coded my boxes and I've got total net sales. I'm going to run this for the last month, see if we have some data in there. I'm going to span that a little bit, make sure we get some numbers. All right, so for my period from September 1st to the end of the year, you can see I have 3,500 in net sales total. And then here I've broken it down by location. So instead of running your sales report and then filtering it by location and exporting and comparing side by side, I can put those numbers side by side right on the same page here. So here's my 3rd app sales, here's my Broadway sales, Main Street. Broadway and Main Street aren't doing so hot, so maybe I should do something about that. And summary for gross profit, tax collected, a lot of the same values you see on the sales report, but you can reorganize them to however you want to see it on your own report. I'm going to give you a quick look into how these reports are built here. So if I click Actions and Edit, you can see that each of these widgets has an edit box. And I can change what I want to call that little info box, how big it is on the page, the color, the text color, if I want to consider one location or all locations, if I want to filter by location. And you'll see that these options are different for each of the widgets available. I cancel my edit here. We'll look at one more, and then I'll show you the widgets that go into this. So for a Stocktake report, this is a new one. Basically, this is going to look at all the items that have been through a cycle count over this period in time. And we don't have one for this range, but I'll show you those stock takes in a minute here and then come back to the value of this. So our widgets available, I will click add widget here. We've got a whole list of things that you can add to your custom reports. So sales figures, summary numbers, just like you see on your sales report, shipping tips, transaction fees, products sold. This is that table of every product that was sold. Internal transfers, products received, just like what we saw with the purchase order products received, kind of in the same category there. More purchase order details, fees and freights, more in transit details here. The inventory change report, that's just like this one, but if you want to apply your own filters by location or something like that, or set it alongside your sales for a range of time, then you can do that in your custom report. Order details is going to look at the order itself. So our sales report is more or less product-based, but if you want to see transaction-based information, We've got order details, refund details, tender details. So if you want to break down, card versus, Visa versus Amex versus cash versus anything else, you can see that in this report. The stock take breakdown, and this is a category summary. So in the category sales report, remember we listed out all the products that were sold in each category. This one is going to give you just a real high level view: snacks, $500, clothing, $3,000, etc., and break it down for the time that you selected. And all of those can be put into your custom reports. You can edit them at any time, of course, and then when you run a report that you want to save, you just download the PDF or CSV, and you'll have that on file. That's it for reports. Again, if you have questions, hit that Q&A button, and we'll get to it, but we've got a little bit more to cover here. So I'm going to move on to the main event, probably the inventory page. And this is where most of the magic happens when you're creating and editing and managing your products. Shopventory is really the database of record. So when you sign up with us, you're going to do all of your work in Shopventory, and we're going to sync that outwards and make sure that your point of sale providers have up-to-date information with the right names and prices and costs. And so everything is managed here in-house, and then we can sync that out to as many locations and merchant accounts as we need to. The main inventory page is really just a list. So this is showing me all of my products with their variants and locations. Pretty straightforward: my quantity on hand at this location, what I paid for this product, and how much I'm selling it for. I'm going to go in and take a look at the detail of one of these products here. So this is my All Pro basketball. And you can see what are the fields that we offer for editing your products. And again, all of these are going to sync out to your providers as your providers are able to handle each of these fields. I know they handle some of them differently, but pretty straightforward. Name and description. So if you have an e-commerce integration, this is going to go straight to your website, and you can edit the HTML for this. If you want to do your code instead of just using the format, that's fine too. Our image editor, you can put in multiple images per product. So here I have the main view and then my multiple basketball view. And then if I want to put in separate images for each variant, I can do that as well. Those are all going to sync to your website. So when your customer gets to your page, they can click, cycle through the images, and you can manage all of that from Shopventory. The active field here basically just means, do I want to push this out? Is it ready for sale? Or do I want to keep this in Shopventory now, either because it's not for sale or it's not ready to be published or something like that? Just a quick, easy toggle on and off. And if you go to toggle your active toggle on, it's going to prompt you, which point of sale provider do you want to sell this at? Do I want to sell it online or in store or both or just in store? And then you can choose your integrations there. Categories. Shopventory is going to let you add as many categories as you want for reporting purposes. If your point of sale handles multiple categories, then we will sync those out. If not, then we'll probably just sync this first one. And those are the same categories that we looked at in our reporting. So however you want to organize your items here, you can do it in your items page or in bulk, and then that will filter through to your reports to however you like. Variants and default section is going to look at the further breakdown of your item. Not every product will have multiple variants. Many of them will. This is a bit more complicated example because it's looking at two different prices for the same product. So this is one basketball. One's being sold at $14.99 for my regular price, but I also have some wholesale customers or maybe employees. That could be anything you like. I have a separate price for that. And we're going to talk about bundles in just a minute. So each variant, of course, is going to get its own price, cost of goods, par level and reorder. That's the min and max that we talked about earlier. And then if I don't need to track inventory for something, suppose I'm selling haircuts as a service, I don't need to know how many I have on the shelf. I can just toggle that off, and then Shopventory is not going to bother you about how many you have on hand if it doesn't really apply to your products. We've got a space here for internal notes, just in case you want to leave a note to yourself about a particular item. Here's my location manager. So if I only sell this product at 3rd Ave, then I'm only going to enable it here. If I decide I also want to sell it at this location, I can just toggle it on and then decide which merchant accounts I want to sync that to, and it'll do that for me as well. If I have different pricing per location, for example, say this is a very touristy area and I want to raise my price a little bit, then I can choose not to use my defaults, which is what we've used up here. So remember, variants and defaults. My default price is $14.99. If I want to raise it, I can toggle that off and then type in any price I like to right here. And that's going to sync out just the way that you see it. Taxes, you can manage your tax rates in Shopventory. This is what's going to sync to your point of sale provider. E-commerce generally handles their own, but if you want to see which rates are applied or you need to remove a rate because it's a non-taxable product, you can do that right here. And finally, shipping. If you are doing any shipping from your e-commerce and you need to put in some of that criteria to calculate costs, this is the place to do it. So you can add your dimensions and choose the unit, weight, and choose the unit here as well, and that will sync out. And if you're just using brick and mortar sales and that's not something that applies to you, you can toggle that off and ignore it, and there's no harm done. I'm going to discard those changes. Now back on my inventory page, suppose I need to make just a couple quick updates to multiple products. You see we've got an actions menu here, and it's going to let me do a handful of different things. So the top two on the list are edit and add. So if I click actions and then edit, it's going to open up a few fields for me on this main page where I can make some changes. So suppose I'm doing a count here. I've got all pro basketball. My quantity in stock is 28. I just did a count. I actually have 27. Not sure why that is yet, but that's what it is. My cost did not change. My price did not change, so I'm going to leave those as is. For my beef, let's say I want to lower the count a little bit, but my price actually changed, which we're going to list as cost. So my vendor is selling it for 70 cents instead of what it was previously. I can enter that change right here. If I hit save, this is going to prompt me to leave a description for the edits. So basically Shopventory is saying, why are you changing the quantity or the cost? And I'm just going to leave a note here and say account and leave my name. So this is going to go into each item's history. And when I review the inventory history, remember Shopventory keeps everything on file, then that's going to make it clear to me down the road why the changes were made. So let's jump into that inventory history for the All Pro Basketball. You can see here's the edit I just made. If I scroll back in time, there's a timestamp with all of the edits that were previously made for this product. And if I look at the note right here, I can see this is the username, Jacques Demo. That's who I'm signed in as. So normally that would say Joe Barlow, and now I'm suddenly responsible for everything I'm doing in the system. It's a great way for accountability. If your employees have their own logins, then their changes are assigned to their names as well. And that's really easy to see after the fact. And then my note count right here. So if I'm a manager and I come in and I see a change that looks a little bit questionable, I can see who it was that made the change and then make sure if something needs to address, I know exactly who to ask about why that change was made. If I want to create a product, it's going to be the exact same page that we just looked at, except it's a blank slate, of course. So wait for this to load. Clean slate, I can put in my own, put in my name, description, categories. These are the exact same fields. And when I create it, it's going to sync out automatically to whatever integrations I have selected here, whichever locations. And it's going to be added to my inventory list. And it will also be entered in my account history. So if I want to review later on when a product was created, I can see that no problem. Also linked from the inventory page. So this was our inventory history. If I click on the quantity number, if I want to see my cost history, this is also something that Shopventory tracks for us. So I'm going to bump down to my Coca-Cola. If you don't want to scroll, you can simply type in the search bar and that's going to pull it up for you. Let's look at our Coca-Cola cans. So right now, my most recent purchasing price was 58 cents. So every time you order inventory through Shopventory, we're going to keep that batch of inventory in its own lots. So I can see all the way back on January 22nd, 2019, I received my first batch of inventory, 206 products, and those cost me 58 cents a piece. Now, moving forward chronologically, I can see how much I ordered at each time and what it cost me at the time. So you can see that my price for Coca-Cola was fluctuating with the market, down and up and down and up, and most recently it's 58 cents. And this is important because when you go to see your sales reports, it doesn't make sense to apply 58 cents to all of my historical sales if that's not what it always cost me. And this is honestly what almost every other system does, is they'll give you one field for cost, and they're going to calculate your reports historically based on that one number, which is not going to give you accurate sales reports from last year. Shopventory is going to do the work to remember the number that you actually paid for each item of inventory. And when you sell this, we're assuming first in, first out. So if I have a couple different lots on hand and I make a sale, I'm assuming that I'm selling the oldest product I have on the shelf at that moment. We're going to use that cost to calculate your profit going forward. So this is the way to accurate sales reports, and Shopventory is doing it correctly, and you can see all of your cost history in one place. And in the event that you made a mistake, you can edit something retroactively here. But it is all there to see your history and make sure that your vendors aren't spiking prices on you slowly, or if you just forget what you used to pay for it, then it's all on the record there. Just a moment. All right, the next feature we're going to look at is our stock takes. And this is the main feature that you would use for cycle counts. So what I showed you here with the actions button is handy if you just need to update a couple items real quick. But if you're going to count a department or count your store, this is the tool to do it. So it's going to be a whole session on one sheet. So you can look back and say, hey, I remember I counted my store back on January 15th. Will you show me those numbers I had at that time? We're going to give it all to you in one place. So here's a quick glance at what that looks like. Each stock take has its own number. You can set that, of course, where it occurred, the reason for the count, and any custom notes here. So these are all the items that were included in my cycle count. The expected value is what Shopventory thinks you should have had on hand at the moment. So based on everything that we're tracking, we think that you have 19 of these on hand. When you go to count the item, then you can put in your actual number, and it may be the same and it may be not. If the number is different from what Shopventory thinks it should be, then we're going to calculate the discrepancy for you in this case, -2. And then whoever is doing the count has a chance to leave any notes on maybe why they think the discrepancy was there, or maybe if they want to go back and recheck it, or if they think missing items might be in the back stock room, anything of that sort. You can leave a note here. So we're going to total all this up for you. This is your just change history for the stock take. So I can see that Jacques created the stock take back on September 12th with one product, and then all of my updates are here. So again, accountability is really important. So we want to know, we want to help you understand what took place in your account and when, so you know what's going on in your business. So this one is incomplete. I'm going to create a new one for you just so you can see how that works. So suppose I want to do a count for my accessories column or accessories department at my 3rd Ave location. And this is just my weekly reconciliation. When I click add products, it's going to bring up my entire inventory list at my 3rd Ave location. And I can either search for the items that I want, or select them as I scroll through, or I can simply filter for the location or the category that I want to see, in this case, accessories. So I'm going to select that, apply my filters. Shopventory finds all the applicable products for you. I'm going to say add all variants to stock take. And now they're all going to be listed out here. And again, this is something that you can print out after I save the draft here. You can print this out on paper and hand it out to your employees, and they can go out and do the counts. And then you can come back and enter the numbers here. Or an excellent feature is we've integrated this page with barcode scanners. So if I have a barcode scanner hooked up to my laptop via USB or Bluetooth, I can simply scan the label. So I might be walking down the aisle. I can see my medium cups here. I scan the barcode. It's going to go bloop and then add a +1 right here. And that's going to count as I go. So if I continue to scan, the number is going to keep going up for me. And you don't have to do any work on your laptop. You don't have to type. You simply scan your product and we do the count for you. So you can start with a blank slate here, just a completely blank stock take, and walk out into your store and scan every barcode you can find. And Shopventory will tell you what products were scanned, how many times. And at the end, of course, this is going to let you reconcile your count. So it's not just a mental exercise. If we save our draft, once we have all of our counts input, get back to it here, then I probably want to actually update my item quantities. So Shopventory thinks we have 147. We actually have 145. So, a couple got thrown away or used or walked out the door or whatever. When I want to update my item counts, I can hit actions. I can either request approval. So maybe I'm the person doing the count, but I'm not the floor manager, and they're the one that's going to come in later and approve it. If I'm ready, I can approve and complete this. And this is going to push my actual numbers to my items and update them both in Shopventory and in your point of sale or e-commerce or what have you. So that's Stocktakes in a nutshell. We've got a couple other big features here for you, and then we're going to circle back, make sure we have answered all your questions, and take it from there. All right, so our next feature is going to be transfers. So we walk through the dashboard, we covered the inventory page and the product page, stock takes, we covered alerts. We're going to look at vendors and purchase orders a little bit later, actually, but we're going to start with the transfers. So purchase orders and transfers are lumped together. They're either external or internal. In this case, we're looking at transferring inventory between locations. So I'm going to look at my open transfer here. Each one's got their own number, so you can refer to it. And if you're used to doing transfers or purchase orders on paper, or you have them in a filing cabinet and it's all a mess, then Shopventory is going to be a welcome relief, because everything is in the same format. It's all in chronological order. It's all accessible in the cloud, so you can pull it up on your laptop at home or while you're at work or anywhere you like to. And all of that history is clean and in one place. So if you're coming from the paper world or spreadsheets, it's going to make a huge difference in your efficiency and your workflow, and it's really enjoyable to use. So here's our example transfer. We're moving items from Broadway to 3rd Ave. And it's real simple. I pick the items that I'm moving. I'm going to punch in Shopventory how many I'm moving, and then Shopventory is going to look at the cost and just give me a quick estimate on what the value of this transfer is. Once that truck comes in, I can check to make sure that I received everything I was supposed to receive, and all I have to do is hit receive. And this is going to give me a chance to punch in all my quantities. Yes, I got 12 of these, 18 of these, 6, yes, yes, yes. Oh, just kidding, one of those blew up on the truck. I actually only got 5. I can make a quick edit. And when I do this, this is going to adjust my quantity on hand for each of those locations. So it's coming out of my Broadway location, so that's a -12 for the bottle, and then it's coming into my 3rd Ave location, so it's a +12. And if you look at your inventory history for these products, it's going to be right there, +12 received by Joe at, on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And this is the PO number if you want to look at it. So it all links together. Those are your transfers. If you need to print some labels because you have an item that came in that didn't have a label, oops, not that button. We can actually print labels pretty easily from a number of different places. So I'm going to go back to my list here. We're actually just going to go all the way back to the product page, and I'll show you that link, and then we'll wrap it back together with the purchase orders. So suppose I need to print some barcodes. We're going to read your number from either the SKU or the barcode fields. Again, different point of sales use those fields differently. Maybe you're using both. Maybe they're representing different numbers for you. If you want to create an actual scannable barcode, you're going to hit this little settings wheel on the top. There's an option there to print SKU or barcode labels. So in this case, suppose I want to pull it from the SKU fields. We have Avery labels for a desktop printer, Dymo labels, and then Brother labels. And you can see all the different sizes that we support here. If you have one of these printers, all you need to do is pick up a roll that matches, and we're going to do the work for you. So I'm going to start with an Avery example. And I'm going to tell Shopventory that this SKU is in 12-digit UPC format. So this is an actual mathematical formula. You can't punch in any 12 digits and have it work. But if it is a UPC and that check digit checks out, then that'll work. I'm going to select my location. And I actually don't know if this is a UPC, but it looks like it. It's got the right number of digits, so we're going to give it a try. And it is valid. So Shopventory is going to tell me, yeah, we checked out the UPC, your SKU on that product. It is a valid UPC. And I can say, well, I want you to print 2 labels for it. That'd be perfect. And if when I click download printable label sheet, this is going to generate a PDF file for me. So it's going to show up in my downloads folder. And I can pull it up if I'm working on my laptop. It's really easy. The file's right here. It's going to open in my browser. And then all I have to do is send this file to my printer, which is also connected to my device. So this is for my desktop printer. Remember, I picked the Avery option. So here are the 2 labels that I requested. All I have to do is click print, and that's going to send it to my printer. And that's it. And you can print many labels. You can probably saw that there are lots of different options there for customizing the format here. Oops. Make sure I get back to the right tab. So that is your label printing in a nutshell again. We're going to jump over to another big feature here, bulk upload. So you might have hundreds of products to deal with, or potentially thousands. And if you balk at the idea of clicking into each product individually to make changes, you're not alone. So we've built something for that. If you go to Actions Bulk Upload, there are a number of sheets here where we're going to basically upload your information into Google Sheets, into a spreadsheet with a nice clean template where you can make changes and then simply re-import that back to Shopventory. So suppose I want to change all my prices, increase them by 15%. I can pull an edit variant spreadsheet. This is going to create that list of variants for me in Google Sheets in your browser. And I can put in my formula and increase all my prices at once, and then simply re-import back to Shopventory, and boom, it's done. Easy. We've got a couple different options. Edit products. This is your product level information, like your product name, your categories, your description. If you want to get a little bit down to the variants, this would include things like your variant name, SKU, and barcode, as well as your prices. We have one just for quantities here. So if you don't want to touch anything else, all I'm doing is receiving quantities, but it's for some reason I don't want to do it with the actions button or with purchase orders. You can do that with a spreadsheet right here. Receiving inventory, bulk creating vendors, creating purchase orders. Those are both in the vendor and purchase order sections, but they're listed here. Or if I want to create new products, if I'm new to Shopventory and just setting up my business, or if I just have a huge load of inventory coming in and nothing's in the system yet, I have 75 products to create. Do it on a spreadsheet, upload it, and then it'll save you a lot of time. The two other tabs here I didn't cover on the inventory page are categories and tax rates. Pretty straightforward. The categories tab is going to list out your categories, and it's going to let you choose exactly which products are assigned to that category. I can edit the name, I can put in a description just for my own reference or an image. And this is going to let me set up subcategories. So if on my website, I want my customers to be able to click apparel, and then men's, and then pants, and then denim, I can set that all up right here with the right hierarchy, and that's going to sync over to my website. And then tax rates, of course, pretty straightforward. I have a different state tax. Maybe this rate applies to all my locations. Maybe it doesn't. I can edit that right here. I can make sure that the tax is applied to all my products so nothing is getting missed. Pretty straightforward there. If you're not located in the States and you don't want, or you need this value-added tax option, so here we have EU tax for 8%. Shopventory does account for that. All we have to do is toggle on VAT. And this is going to mean that my 8% is included in my price. So my retail price is $4. Shopventory is going to work backwards to take the 8% off the top, and then the customer is paying 8% underneath that for the actual revenue. So if you need that, if you're outside of the States, we have that for you. A little earlier on, when we looked at that basketball example, I told you it was a unique example because it deals with a bundle. So we're going to take a quick look at those. On my main inventory list here, I can filter for my bundles so you can see some of our examples here. Now, a bundle is essentially an item that is made out of other items. So in our basketball example, we use that to create a new product, which is selling just the same unit of basketball at a different price. So I'm telling Shopventory, hey, if I sell a wholesale basketball, that's not really its own product. It just is one of my retail basketball. If I want to sell recipes, I can build that into my bundles as well. So these can get pretty complicated. We're going to take a quick look at this cheeseburger bundle to see how it's set up. So each variant can be converted to a bundle after you put in your min and max levels, and that's the settings wheel right here. So I'm going to click on Manage Bundle, and this is going to tell me what goes into it. So every time I sell a single cheeseburger, Shopventory will go, okay, I see this is a bundle. This is what we're going to take out of stock. This is using our Buns 12-pack inventory, but it's only using 0.08 of them. So if I sell a cheeseburger, I don't want it to take away a whole 12-pack. I'm just going to put in the fraction, and it's going to go down by just those small amounts. I'm going to use one beef burger patty, and I'm going to use 0.01 cheese when my units here are 100 pack. So when you go to set up your inventory in Shopventory, you want to think clearly in terms of what are my units, how is everything labeled, is it nice and clear? So if I use that as the component for another item, it's really easy to do the math. Oh, one slice of cheese is just 1/100th of my product that I'm tracking here. So my purchase order will have, maybe 10 100 packs. But then when I go to sell a cheeseburger, I'm just taking away just the very top, and it all works out. One more option here for our bundles is you can punch in your assembly costs. So if I'm going to assume that it's going to take several minutes for my employees to assemble this, and I want to factor that into my cost of goods so it works through to my profit reports, I can add that cost in right here for whatever I think should be accounted for. So we're going to look at another bundle example. That's what you might call a recipe or an ingredient tracking example. If you're selling anything that comes in bulk, so you can either sell it 12 at a time or 6 at a time or in smaller amounts, but it's really all the same item, then you can use bundles for tracking partial units, you could say. So here, I've got a lot of different examples. All of this is Coors Light. One product name, different variants to describe basically the modes in which I sell my product. So my 24 pack is a base unit. I'm selling it for $20. It cost me $8.79. But I also sell 12 packs, so I might break up my 24 pack and sell just half of that to a customer. I can make that a bundle so Shopventory can track it. If you have 24 packs and 12 packs as their own products, but they're coming out of the same inventory, then all of your sales are going to be conflicting and your quantity on hand is going to be wrong. If you've experienced this, then you know what I mean. So pretty straightforward. A 12 pack is really just half of a 24 pack. So if I sell 2 of these, my quantity of 12 packs goes down by 1, and my quantity of 24 packs goes down by half. 6 packs by extension is simply a quarter of my 24 pack. You can also do pours. So suppose I have kegs in stock, but maybe I'll sell the keg for $1.75, but most of the time I'm just selling a pint and I have an open keg behind the bar. All I'm going to do is tell Shopventory, hey, a pint is really just 0.01 kegs. And we give you up to 3 decimals here, so you can get pretty precise. A couple other examples for bundles. This is a pour here. Maybe different varieties of the same recipe. So all of these include maybe ham and eggs and cheese and mayonnaise, but one of these uses gluten-free bread and one uses wheat bread. All I have to do is swap out the component in my bundle, and then Shopventory will make sure that the right ingredients come out of stock. Latte is another good example of a recipe. Glass, we can break down your bottles of wine, so 4 glasses are 1 bottle and they're all linked together, or even commission. So maybe there's only one kind of mattress on the floor, but I have 3 different people selling it. This is going to come through my sales report. So if I want to know what Joe's sales were for the month versus Jacques' sales, then this kind of bundling will help me work that out really easily. Moving on to our vendors. This is kind of the building block for our purchase orders page. So these are all the folks that I buy my inventory from. Tags are just kind of an internal system, so I can see at a glance what I buy from this person, contact information, where they sell me inventory. And if I go into these, then we've got room for a lot more details here as well. So I can punch in my vendor's website and who my contact is and their phone number, fax, email, how long it takes my vendor to provide inventory to me, how long it takes them, to ship it, and any particular notes I need to know before I contact these people. So it's all there in one place. If you have a stack of business cards, then this is going to be, again, a pretty nice relief. So once I have my vendor set up, then I can tell Shopventory, well, what is it that I buy from this vendor? So if I edit my products, here's my whole inventory list. In this example, I've selected Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all my sodas. So I know that when I go to order a soda, it's going to be attached to this vendor. This is my guy. And jumping into purchase orders, this looks really similar to transfers, except it's coming from the outside instead of an internal transfer. I'm going to pull up my example here. Have an open order from Fab Fashion Wholesalers. Shopventory is going to make this look real nice for you. So it's got your own logo here with your industry and your addresses. And it's going to print out all of the products that you're ordering with. Maybe you have a specific ID number, which is just for this vendor. So maybe it doesn't go on the SKU or the barcode. but that's something that your vendor wants to see when you place an order. We've got a field for that right here. How many I'm ordering, what the price is for me. If there are any discounts applied, we can do that by the dollar or the percentage. If there's a tax applied, and then Shopventory is going to do the math, and you can see your totals at the bottom. Again, all these are exportable, so if I want to print out a PDF of this and then email it to my vendor, all I have to do is download a PDF that's going to look real nice, shoot it off, or download it, print it, and keep it on a file elsewhere just to have a backup. If I tend to order the same things a lot, I can duplicate my purchase order, make it really easy to reorder something that I do maybe on a monthly basis. So that's the bulk of it for purchase orders. Again, I haven't been pointing these out on every screen, but we have lots of search bars and filters. So if you're looking for something in particular, there's usually a very quick way to find it. So we're coming towards the end of our demo here. I hope you've been putting in your questions to Jacques. He's been handling those. And we're going to answer some of those live here in just a minute as we're wrapping up. So I'm going to head all the way down to my settings page. We're going to look at just some of the nuts and bolts here and then take your questions. The default settings page is locations. So here I can see what my stores are. It looks like I've got 2 locations in Denver. I have Main Street, and I'm selling from Square there. I also have my 3rd Ave location in Denver, and I've got Square and Shopify. So when I sell a product online, I'm going to ship it from my 3rd Ave location, which means it also affects my Square inventory. So I know a huge headache for a lot of our businesses is they have their brick and mortar sales, they have their online sales, and they're constantly going back and forth, making sure the quantities are right, and they're maybe overselling online because they didn't deduct the inventory in time after somebody bought it in the store. Shopventory makes that really easy for you. So we're going to keep these in sync. If you sell it from your store, it's not available online anymore. If you sell it online, you take it out, it's not available at the POS. And we support as many locations as you need to. So if your business is growing quickly, then Shopventory is there with you. On our accounting tab, we do have the option to sync daily invoices to QuickBooks Online. So if that's a program that you use and you're using Shopventory, we'll create an invoice there with your daily sales summary. So we'll say, hey, in QuickBooks, we sold $3,000 worth in our soda category today. Quick entry, and you can assign that and make it hit your ledger however you want to, but we're going to do that automatically for you and save you a little time on your accounting. Pretty typical settings for your profile here. One neat feature is you can set your email preferences. So if I want an email every time a refund occurs, because that shouldn't be happening that often, I can turn that on and that's going to pop right up on my phone. Oh, so-and-so refunded a $500 item. Maybe I should find out what happened there and make sure that the customer has what they needed and that they were handled and everything. $0 transactions, again, if this is something I don't expect to happen very often, then I want an email about it so I know what's going on in my store, even if I'm not there. And I can opt in. I can get a daily sales report, weekly sales report, show up in my inbox, show me how I'm doing for the week or the month. And Shopventory is going to make that easy so you don't even have to log in or prompt you. Maybe I need to log in and see what's going on with these emails here. And then send me an email. I've zoomed in here so you can see the text, but send me an email when a product is below par. So if you hit that low inventory, we can send you an alert. Company info is just the basics for your company, and this is what we use to render your purchase orders. So to make this nice and pretty, we need your address and your name, and your business logo. We can put that in a great format to send out to your vendors. It's going to look real professional. Billing page is just a glance into your current subscription with Shopventory, any payment methods you have on file, what you're paying for. You can see it all right here when your next bill is coming due. Access control is a good one. You can set up a separate login for all of your employees with their own unique permissions. So I am the account owner. I have all permissions on my account. I have access to all locations. But cashier at mybusiness.com, this person is only working at one of 3 locations, so they don't need to see what's going on my other stores. And I also don't need to give them full access to my reporting, so I'm not going to show them that. What I want them to do, if they're on Shopventory, is to receive transfers. So a truck comes in, they can check it off. I don't need to do that for them. Or receive purchase orders. When the order comes in, they can check it off. Or if they're doing a cycle count, I'm going to give them permission to update my accounts. But that's it. Everything else is going to be locked out. They're going to get a message that says you don't have access to this. If you need permission, contact your manager. And everyone can do exactly what they were been assigned to do and nothing else. So again, this is great for accountability because I can see when those stock counts were updated. and then it'll say, oh, this wasn't you, this was cashier. So if this looks a little funny to you, go talk to them. They made the change on Tuesday at 1 p.m. My accountant, I can give them their own login. They have access to view my reports and to view cost and profit margins, but they don't actually have access to change anything in my inventory because that's not their job. And the general manager, you can see I've given a lot more permissions. You can see all my locations. If we zoom in on other items here, you can see all of our options. So here's my general manager, the name, permissions, viewing reports, cost and profit. So maybe I want them to see my inventory, but not actually what I'm paying for it. Easy enough, I can just toggle that off. Updating stock counts and prices, managing purchase orders, managing internal transfers, managing the account itself, managing other users. I'll probably leave that to me, so I'll leave that toggled off. And then stock takes. And I can, of course, filter by location here as well. So we really want Shopventory to work for all of your business. So we want your employees to have access to be able to do the work that you need to do, that you need them to do, and not have permission to do what you don't want them to do. So we keep that pretty simple for you. Create logins for your users, set their permissions accordingly, and then you can trust them that the system's going to work for you the way that you want it to. So that's all we have today in terms of our live guided tour. I know Jacques has been handling the questions for you, so I'm going to turn it over and answer a few of those here for the sake of the recording. Okay, Jacques?
All right, Joe. Great job today. So we do have one question here. Our shop is going to be using Shopventory to connect our inventory between our website and our Clover POS. Can you speak a little bit to how that integration will work?
Yes, great question. So that's kind of what I was touching on right at the end there in our locations page. If you have your Clover and your website at one location, then this is going to allow you to keep your item counts in sync. So if I sell it online, it's going to come out of your Clover POS. If you sell it from Clover, it's going to take that stock offline. And if that means your item is out of stock, then Shopventory is going to stay on top of that. If you have an item that you're selling in store, but you don't want to sell online, then you can see that in your product detail page. I think we covered this a little bit earlier where we're looking at the integration specifically. So in our My Locations section here, oh, my product is inactive, supposing this was an active product. Now I can select between my locations here. So if I only want this available on Clover or Square in this example and not Shopify, I can leave that on right there. Now, as you know, Shopify and Clover don't handle all of the exact same product information. Shopventory handles that pretty seamlessly. Clover is going to handle multiple locations as our most multiple categories as our most e-commerce, so that's going to sync over the same. But for example, if you have shipping information, we're going to send that to Shopify, and we're going to know that Clover doesn't handle it, so you don't really need to worry about it. You have one location or one listing for each product here, and then Shopify does the work of sorting that out between your multiple channels.
All right, so it sounds like I should be making changes in Shopventory. How long do those changes take to show up in Square?
Good question. So Shopventory is as real time as the system allows. As soon as you make that change in Shopventory, we're going to send that over to your purchase, to your point of sale provider. And it's usually very quick. It might be within just a minute or two where you'll see that show up online. It can take up to a few minutes longer. It's if, if there's a lot of web traffic right now, but we do send it over immediately. And so it's generally not much of a wait at all. And it's the same thing for sales, by the way, as well. So if I make a sale in Clover, if I hop over to Shopventory, I usually will see that in my dashboard or my sales report in just a minute or two. So it's very quick.
Okay, this is a good one. So I noticed in the Clover App Store that the prices are different from what I see on Shopventory. Why is that?
Good question. So Shopventory has a couple different subscriptions available, and we also have two different modes in terms of how we accept those payments. So in Clover, what you're going to see is your monthly subscriptions, but you can see in Shopventory that we have annual subscriptions as well as monthly. And if you go with the annual, we're going to give you a pretty steep discount. So if you pay for your 12 months up front, you're going to save about 2 months on that total price. So if you sign up from Shopventory's page, shopventory.com, you create an account from right here, we'll be able to give you that annual pricing at a pretty good discount.
All right. You actually answered 2 and 1 on that last one. So that's it for questions.
Okay, thank you, Jacques. That's all that we have for today. If you have any other questions that you didn't get out in the webinar today, please contact us online. You can hit that chat button, blue chat button in the bottom right-hand corner. You can email us, help@shopventory.com. If there's anything else we can do for you, we will be here. So thanks for joining us today and have a great day.